That's me. Yeah, I'm trying to get more certification. Let's see. And I encourage everyone to get more certification as well. There's also certification for Data Cloud if you want to go for it. Yeah. Today's agenda is getting to know about Data Cloud. What is Data Cloud? Why we are using Data Cloud? And a brief understanding about how Data Cloud works. And then we go through the things that I will mention about the processes. Then we dig dive in between different phases and their key terminologies. Okay, so as per Salesforce definition, says data cloud is a scale data engine that brings all your company data into Salesforce, and there's a few more lines of that you can read out. That is the Salesforce definition of it. What you generally mean by data cloud is something, if you might have heard a few years back, Salesforce came up with a solution called Salesforce Genie, right? So Genie and Salesforce also has a solution called Customer 360. So what they did it, they combined the power of Customer 360 and Salesforce Genie together in the platform and some Einstein capabilities to come up with the platform called Data Cloud. Earlier it was called CDP. Now it is Salesforce Data Cloud. And what this Data Cloud does is it is built to have your data from multiple sources sent to Salesforce, and then you do your analysis and action on it, basically. Okay, it can be real-time data, it can be old data that is coming in batches and something like that as well. Okay, next will be 3 or 4 Salesforce slides talking about different stats and figures about why we actually started with Data Cloud, why we need data. So from Salesforce and different metrics, they did some surveys and stuff. They said uh, AI generally can reduce 75% of your uh, work effort and things like that, right? With the automation, things can be more productive. You can reduce the work time efforts for people. So with automation you can directly increase and enhance your productivity of a team, and you can use with a lot of data coming into the system with unified data services. It does saves you a lot of time to uh, put your own custom processes in place. So it does that. Data unification processes and automation altogether will save a lot of time in your organization, right? These are just a few of the sales side that I'm going through. And why they are pushing on the data is that because as per Salesforce estimation, they say that by 2025 world will be dealing with 100 billion zillions of data. That's a really huge number, right? The amount of data that has been used by different vendors, firms, and companies and service providers. So, and yeah, so in Data Cloud, we have a lot of automations and direct integrations available, right? So as per developers or as per even admins, and they all know that when it comes to integration, it takes a lot of time to integrating with systems, getting the data set up, getting all of that set up, right? And then maintenance involved in maintaining those connections and security and things like that, right? And especially technical expertise to have the technical knowledge to implement those integrations with different systems. With Data Cloud, it does come out with a pre-built connectors. So a lot of time that team would have been invested in developing integrations will be cut down. You can directly connect to systems with small clicks or by MuleSoft and things like that. So they are trying to reduce your work for technical things that you might need to write and do the code for integration. In some cases, you might still have to, but a lot of things is already cut down, right? So in a way, we are reducing at 36% of IT time spent. It can be more, it can be less, depending on the use case. Yeah. Now about Data Cloud. Data Cloud, uh, let's say, has 3 main parts, if you can understand, and then those parts will be divided into a few more parts. The main part is firstly connecting. So we have this Data Cloud which wants data to be sent in. So ideally, our first important part is connecting to a system. It could be a Salesforce Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, Marketing Cloud, or let's say an Amazon S3 server, a Google server, a Google Drive server, or a Facebook database, or any kind of database that is not Salesforce as well. So you want all of the data to connect to Salesforce. That is where the first part is, where you connect, and then harmonize phase is basically you understand. That part is where you understand, okay, now I have a data coming from Amazon Web3 server. What do I mean by that data? Like, yes, there is data coming, but what is it is related to? It is related to account, it is related to customer, contact, their sales detail, their sales order, case details, and things like that. So at harmonization, we actually harmonize our data to make it understandable to data cloud. What do you mean by it? And basically relate it to different objects. And once you have all of that understanding, right, then you say, let's run some intelligent calculations and automated processes on top of it to get a fruitful result out of it. So now we have sent data, but what do you want to do with that data, right? At this point where you do your analysis, your artificial intelligence, AI, and everything comes into play with the customer 360 model, and you do work and do some action out of it. So this is just the three main parts. Now we'll say how actually data cloud works, all those three parts, how it is actually used in Salesforce on data cloud, right? So it, you can see in the window there are 6 phases. Okay, so firstly we start with our data source. Data source can also be called as a data source object in data cloud. So data source is, as you can see, multiple icons on the first section, right? You can see a commerce cart, or a health cloud, or a sales cloud, or if you have a Redshift connector, if you, or you have a mobile SDK, or if you have a new MuleSoft connection. So data source can be any external third-party system, Salesforce or non-Salesforce, which you are connecting to data cloud. So once you have all of that connected, you have your data sources identified, that okay, I have these, is my data is stored in this system, and I want this system to be connected to data cloud. So once that is identified, that is your data source, and that data source is then connected to data cloud. Either that could be via a batch process or a streaming process, basically a streaming ingestion. This phase is generally called an ingestion because we are ingesting the data, we are digesting the data, right? So ideally, you can push the data in batches for 90, a lot of records at a time, or you can push real-time data, which is generally every 5 minutes, every 2 minutes, you want to push some data to data cloud. Okay. And once you have all of that data pushed to data cloud, now you come into a harmonized part where customer, say, Salesforce Genie also comes into play. What it does for you, the things that data cloud understands automatically, it will auto map for you. So if I have account object, what it will do, it automatically map that account object with data cloud account object and its relational fields. Okay, so this is where the customer 360 model is in play. You are translating the data that you have, the system that you have connected to, into a data cloud 360 model. Okay, and once you have understood about that model, okay, and you have done all of your mapping, this is a very important part in initial phases of implementation, if someone is doing, to identify which field should connect to which field. It can become complicated, but yeah, but most of the times it is automatically driven. For custom fields and custom objects, you might have to do it yourself. Okay, then we move to unification. Unification is basically a part where you understand a single source of truth. What do I mean by single source of truth? This is a place where I understand, okay, I have my data about me coming from 10 systems. It could be my contact and account information coming from Salesforce. My purchase information is coming from Amazon. My history, search history, and things like that, might not be search history, but any other detail might be coming from Google. My purchase history, my service history might be coming from a different server. So let's say my data is coming from 10 different sources. It can happen that 10 different places have 10 different kind of information. At one place, it can say Sparsh Bhatnagar. At one place, it can say Sparsh B. And other place, it can just say Sparsh. Or other place can say just Mr. Bhatnagar. So it can have a you can come across issues, right, when you're working with organizations which deals with a larger amount of data, that there are duplicates, there are wrong data. To understand that, okay, what is the right email for this person, what is the right contact number for this person, what is the exact name for the person. So you do a unification at this stage. You combine all of the data into one single record, and you decide which is the right things and wrong things. So in a way, you get a single source, single truth view, a right view of a customer and how you want to contact that customer, basically. So you get a one simplified view. Okay, and once you have that unified view of the customer, then you can say, okay, now I have my data corrected, let's do something with it. Okay, before this point, you didn't have the proper information on what channel you want to connect to that person, or what is the right information about the person. So now you have the right information. Yeah, now you have your source of truth. What you will do with it, you will push it to the next stage, which is the fifth stage in the data cloud, which is analyze and predict. It is similarly, if you guys have worked with reports, dashboards, it's not exactly that, but it is a similar way you can say it's analytical cloud or something like that. So what you do here is you drag and drop stuff into a report builder kind of scenario, okay, where you drag and drop your calculation metrics and things like that. And either this analysis can be done on batch records which you have pushed, or it can also be done on a streaming records, which is real-time records. So on both records you do your prediction, do you do your calculator metric, right? In an example, let's say you want to identify what are my high value customers for an organization, with the customers who are spending more than 5,000, 10,000 in a month. Okay, so let's say that builder scenario, it is in drag and drop, or you can also put a query and it will build it for you. Uh, so once you're drag and drop, you say, okay, I have a filter. Customer spend is more than 5,000. Then it will give you a list of customers who are spending more than 5,000. So this way you are getting an analytical view of a customer or different matrices who, uh, or you can say a marketing campaign. Which marketing campaign is performing well? So you can do that analysis and tell the system that, okay, this marketing campaign is doing really well. Let's push. Instead of pushing other marketing campaigns, let's push this marketing campaign to our users, something like that. So that is where your business intelligence and predictions will come into play. And once you have done your analysis on that data, what you will do is, okay, now you'll say, okay, I have my data. Why I'm doing this, right? So the main reason why either you can just create a report and look at it, or then you can actually act on your data. By acting on your data, you can send by automations, the automated flows, or even you can send it by Apex or custom integration. But you can have your automation flows. What it will do is it will send the data back, or whatever the action you want to perform, that you want to let the marketing cloud know, okay, this particular campaign is our champion campaign, and we want this campaign to be pushed more as it is bringing more successful sales results. Yeah. Or you want to say, okay, I have one customer who's tried to click on a real time scenario, if who's trying to click on a website and clicking contact us multiple times in last 1 minute or last 10 minutes. So let's send him a email, right, on the person who's connecting to our website, or nudge him that, okay, try to contacting email us, or give him a chat email link, or a contact number. So this is a way where you're analyzing your data and you are acting on it, right? Right. So on that thing, it's an outward action to Sales Cloud. It is an outward action to any other system, or it could be an outward action to any other website as well. So whatever you want to do, you can connect to that system, and you just have to define your targets where you want to define, and you'll send it. So this is the main slide where the most of the stuff happens. If you understand these 6 phases, that is all for the data cloud. Okay. Now we jump into different phases and key different these phases that we discussed previously, right? And now we combine into different phases of development. Okay, so our first phase is ingestion, right? It comprises of the first two sections that we discussed, connecting to the system and your data source, basically. So you can see in this chart, you have a data source that can be any other Sales Cloud, Amazon S3, right? So the things where you are ingesting your data from. Then you connect that data source system basically to a data stream. In data cloud, the terminology, there are two terminologies in the starting ingestion phase: data stream and data lake object. Okay, data stream is when you have built a connection with the data cloud. Okay, and then you uh, connect to data cloud, then that record is generally called a data stream. So that is a connection record formed between those two systems. So that data stream is some like a stream of a river going down to a lake, let's say. So you have a stream of data coming and going to your data lake. So all of the things, that systems that you have connected to, all of the data, all of those connections will be stored in a big chunk of repository that is called data cloud, sorry, data lake object. So your data lake object is a big repository. It has all the data streams, all the data that is coming to Salesforce. Okay. While you are pushing data to data cloud, you can also apply formula fields to manipulate your data. eh? and and once you have decided what kind of manipulations you want to do, you can apply at the time of data stream level itself. Okay, you don't have to apply formulas at the data stage. While you're connected to the system, generally the best point to apply formulas at that stage. Okay, and you can send bulk data or you can send real-time data. There's no problem with that. Okay, for data streams. So there is a tab data stream. So for first, I'll say for data cloud, it is not a separate setup is required. It is an app. Okay, so in app, it will be different tabs of the different six phases that I just mentioned previously, right? All of that phase will be a tab similarly. So on the tab, there will be a data stream tab, and on the tab, if you just click new, it will show you different connected resources. If your sales data cloud is connected to different systems, it will give you more options, right? So let's say you are connected to marketing cloud, CRM, Salesforce CRM, and thing like that. So it will directly give you connected sources. And what you just have to do, let's say I've clicked on Salesforce, and it will give me to a next window where I just go select an object which I want to ingest. I want to ingest an account object. I'll just have to do one thing. I'll just have to click Salesforce CRM. It will give you okay, Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, and it will then the next step will be okay, I select sales service account, and next, and I will be creating a data stream from our Sales Cloud to Data Cloud. Right. Similarly, if you have a Marketing Cloud connected, and yeah, so if you have different systems connected, you can directly do that. There's a wide variety of systems that are not directly available in connected sources or other sources. You can connect them by MuleSoft. There's a very big list of the system that you can connect to via MuleSoft. Unfortunately, today, when I logged in, I got a message from Salesforce that my Trailhead org is expired. This happens. Okay, this was working after 12 o'clock. I think they have expired my trail log. So I will try to explain as much as possible in my presentation only, but I cannot really actually give a demo today because it's expired and it generally locks you out of next 30 days. So I cannot request a new org for next 30 days. Earlier, Trailhead used to gives you a trial org for 90 days. Now Trailhead, PLC org generally gives you an org for only 30 days to practice. So I can only show that, and that is expired just today. So unfortunately, yeah. But I'll try to explain and as much as I can. Yeah. Okay. So why ingesting your data? So the systems that you are connected to, you also need to understand how data has been pushed to the from outward systems to Salesforce, right? So let's say you have Marketing Cloud. You can once you have in a Marketing Cloud connected, how many days back, till days back, you can look to the data. Let's say if for last 90 days, whatever data has been pushed to Marketing Cloud, I can get that data in a batch process to be pushed to say, uh, Data Cloud on an hourly basis or a 24-hour basis. Okay, or then I can decide I want to do a full refresh and upsert. Full refresh is basically if I have 100 records, those 100 records will be inserted again, and those other records are inserted and updated. It's more like an upsert. So upsert will happen on all those records. The whole database will be refreshed. Okay, or sorry, a full refresh will be a whole database will be refreshed with the new data and old data will be removed. Okay, and upset will be the wherever you finds a match, it will only update those records. If you don't find a match, it will not do anything to them. Okay, or only update the fields which are updated. Yeah. Right. So on CRM, Salesforce, Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, you can look back to any amount of window. For people who are working with marketing, they do have a question. Okay, what about data from 91st day? What about 100 days back? So anything after 100 day, initially when you are doing the setup for Data Cloud, you might have to push via data loader or something, all of the data to Data Cloud via data loader or any Informatica tool or something like that, ETL tool, something like that. You might have to push a lot of data if you have a lot of data too. But after once you have set up all of this push data, then you can start daily look back to the last 90 days. So every day you look back to last 90 days, then you will be updated. Yeah. Similar to B2B commerce, right? And other places for a real-time data, well, you can say you can have your ingestion API, which can be pushing your data to every 15 minutes. You can have your mobile SDK, web connections to websites and stuff, which can also push your data to an every 15 minutes. There one more keyword here, if you guys have seen, there's user profile and engagement. So while you are doing your data stream, right, when you're creating a new data stream, it always asks you, is it a user profile or an engagement? What do you mean by that? User profile is generally, let's say, detail about a customer, my contact details and something. And engagement is my sales data, my purchase data, my case data. So engagement is where I have engagement with the customer. User profile data is where I have a user related information. Okay, if someone has that question. Okay. So this is just ingestion timings on the chart. So now we moved out to our third phase, which is second phase of this deployment, sorry, data cloud, which is harmonization, right? So unfortunately, I cannot demo it, but you can see the apps. There's a data cloud app, right? And inside that app, what you can do, you can see every tab is there. You have data stream where you connect your system. There will be a data cloud, might be your old screenshot, and then you have your data lake objects where you are doing your data modeling. Then you can try to understand the data model just to verify the data in the model how it is done, right, in a data model. But you can access that through data lakes. And then you have your identity resolution. Then there's a tab called calculated insights. This is for your analysis and predict. And for acting, when you act on your data, it is basically then segmented activation. So everything is in order by one tab by another. So you go, when you're implementing data cloud, you go from one tab to another by step process while implementing and doing your journey, right? For initial setup. Yeah. Okay. So for like data cloud, let's say I have this contact information, subscriber information, guest information, and customer invoice coming from systems, right? And I have that object of that contact. How do I map it, right? So once I click, I can either click it by data model or data lake object, right? Yeah, it will give me an option to click review mapping. Okay. So once I've clicked review mapping, this kind of window will show up. So in this window, you can see a lot of lines going to some places in data cloud, right? So data cloud objects. So what it is doing is, so let's say I have an account ID or an account phone. I want to map it to a contact secondary phone, let's say. So what I just have to do while we are doing this configuration, just click on the account phone here and just click on the account for here from the list, or it could be an unmap. I just have to click to expand and select. So whichever field I want to connect to, data cloud will automatically link them and you will see the link happening. Okay. The one thing to consider about when you're working with data cloud data model is a normalized data model, and Salesforce and other most systems are generally denormalized. What do you mean by it? Denormalized. In let's say I have an account. I have my account ID, account name, account email, account phone number, account secondary phone number, all of that in one account record, right? That is denormalized form. You have a lot of details in one record. So for normalized forms, you have specific details on an object. So for account contact, it will be okay, contact ID, contact name, contact email. That's all. It will not have phone information. So everything is been coupled with a key. Like you create keys during this process, a primary or composite key. So to link back and understand what data is associated to. So for an account phone, and that object will be you can see something like if it's visible or not, but you can see contact point address. So address information, and it will be associated to contact ID and address. So something, everything is been stored separate objects associating with a primary key. So this is kind of an Oracle kind of concepts they have come up with to link everything with a primary key and a composite key. Okay, while linking data with different objects. Okay, so once you have your linkage done, you have done your mapping of your different objects to data cloud. Now you come into your unification process. This unification process is where you understand your identity of a person. Okay, a source of truth, which I was explaining. So this process is called identity resolution. Okay, in this identity resolution, what you will do is, let's say I have this person's detail coming from a contact object, subscriber object, guest shopping experience from a commerce cloud, or from different invoices from a different operation, different cloud. So we have four different cloud pushing data about this particular customer to our system. Okay? And I want a unified view like it is looking. So you can see in this scenario, the subscriber had their name different, the guest shopper has a name different, their email differences, their number differences. Okay. So you need to understand what is what. So this is where you create few rules to understand your reality about a customer. So if you guys have worked with say service cloud, you might have worked with duplicate rules, matching rules, right? Similarly, we create matching rules here, match rules, which match different records into one together, right? You can be a fuzzy match. Okay, a name can be a fuzzy match, means a few keywords match either, not exactly matching. Okay, and you can define certain criteria like that, right? So once you have all of those rules, it will filter your records and combine them into one. And once you're combining that, then you need to decide, okay, which email should get the priority, which phone number get the priority. This is where you define your reconciliation rules, which gives your priority kind of system. Let's say to decide, okay, I want to look at the last updated email, or I want to look at a specific system email. Okay, I want to consider Sales Cloud email as the main email, or I want to. So there are different criteria to choose between which gets what priority. Okay, so once you have said that, you get a unified view of a customer. Okay, and once you have this identity resolution rule created, okay, it will run, it will take time. It is a heavy reprocessing rule, because it will be processing through, I think, millions of data, right, to combine them and crunch them into one records which is relevant to one customer, right? So let's say in the window that you can see on the side, you can see, you have 489 million records, okay, which has been coupled down or dropped down to 378 million. So you are able to clear 24% of duplicate records from the data. So in generally, the better rate, consolidation rate you will get is as more matching rules you have, the more criterias you have. So better criterias result out to better identification of a customer in say, right? Ideally, whenever you are doing, or if someone even tries this, the trailhead will come with this sample data. But if you are actually doing this in an actual project, what it will be like, try to first do it with a small sample of records. All of this first, all the implementation will, let's say, 100 records from each system, not millions of records. So once you will be able, okay, my mappings and my things are coming right as expected, then start clear everything, then push the real data to the cloud, right? So next, then we come to other phase, which is called analyze and predict. This is then divided into two things: calculated insight and streaming insights. Uh, uh, this is also a tab. You just have to click new, and it will give you an option to build from a builder. Builder will look something like this, where you have different icons, right, to perform and drag and drop. And you can build from a query, which could be an SQL query, not Apex SQL. It will be a SQL query, okay, SOQL, right? So here you can apply joins, inner join, left join, right join, things like that, right? It will give you a bit more uh, capability, right? Not Apex SQL, SOQL, right? Just SQL SQL. Right. So now let's say why we are dividing this calculated insight and streaming insights. So calculated insights is basically used where you do bunch of calculation, batch calculation, where large amount of data has been used for, or a heavy complex information has been calculated. You will generally, and streaming calculation is when I've given an example, right? When you have a real time data and you want to perform a metric or perform a calculation on top of it, that at that place you do a streaming insight, right? So let's say I have CSAT performance of a team. I want to say lifetime value of a customer, or different engagement scores, or things like that. So all of this metrics and calculation about a customer, or understanding their sales pattern and things like that, right? All of that you do it here, and you just do drag and drop. You can say, uh, you can apply filters. Let's say the sales value is over 5,000. You can apply, okay, at least that person has purchased five sales orders and things like that, right? Oh, sorry. Yeah, and once you have all of this done, so then you send all of the data to something called segmentation, which is on our acting stage, right? And segmentation also does similar calculations, but why we are doing calculate and streaming insights first? So this is kind of a modular approach. So you are creating your these things to be available to be pushed to somewhere, or it can be used multiple times. So this is where your modularity comes in place, where you have created one calculated insight and that can be used in 10 different segments, right? You don't have to create 10 different segments for just doing the same thing. You might leverage that. So yeah. And for streaming things for real-time events, it doesn't really go to segmentation and activation, which is acting later. This it goes to something called separately called data actions. So it has a separate way to send it somewhere. Okay. So different use cases for calculated and streaming insight. I'm just giving a one more slide on this topic because this is where we act on the data. So if you have a high value processing generation, right? So this is where you will be using calculated insight. If you have a continuous stream of data, real time data, streaming insight, right? If you want to perform a really complex operation or historical data, calculated insights, yeah. Only when you're only dealing with one or two records or 10 records at a time, I think streaming insight will be much better to go with that. Okay. And if the calculated insight gives you access to bigger data model, streaming generally gives you to smaller data model. Yeah. Yeah. So this is the part where we come on to our final stage where it is acting on the data. Okay. So for acting on the data, there is segmentation. So let's say I have created a calculated insight or something, right? What I'm doing here is I can also add that to here. And segmentation also, again, one more drag and drop place, something like a report builder, kind of. And you can see it gives you a window. So let's say I have an email engagement or a customer who has emailed us 10 times in this particular scenario. Okay, so I can say, okay, that person's email engagement is at least a person who has interacted by at least send us two emails. That will becomes our aggregate criteria, right? Or then you can apply your different filters. Okay, if that channel is open, so you can understand, right? If you can apply like filter or a status, a case status, is case is active or not, case is closed or not, different kind of, right? Filters. Oh, case has been responded in last 30 days or not. So different kind of filters you can apply your criteria, and you can apply and an or logic. You can just shift it, right? And there's one more thing, you can see a tab here, exclude. So it's just not also mentions, okay, I want to include those records. You can also mention excluding records. If some count is over 5, don't include those records. So you can say at least count is 2 and not less than 5, not greater than 5. So you can also create your excluding criteria where you want to exclude certain particular records, right? So more filtering on top of things. So right, and once you have this container built, right, let's say, it doesn't stop you there. You can also drag and drop different containers. Okay, right. So most of the times you build your segmentation on individual or a person, basically a contact record, basically a unified view, which we did in identity resolution, right? We got a unified view of customer. So you create your segmentation on unified individual object, basically, most of the times, and all of the things related to them will be available in related attribute, their email, their individual, their contacts, their sales detail, their purchase detail, their case detail, all of that will be available in related attributes, and then you can drag and drop them here directly. Okay. So basically, is our segmentation. This is basically a process of selecting a different set of data, common data, and getting more common data. Grouping of data is where we do this. And once we have this finalized, right, then we define, okay, how do you want to do something? So there is a thing called, you can see on the top, right, publish. You can say, okay, I just want to keep it. I can want to publish the data to somewhere, right? This is it will then it will go to an activation tab. Activation tab could be, let's say I have connected to a marketing cloud, that, okay, I want to send an email that a person has not contacted us. He has raised a case and he has not contacted us on a campaign. So, okay, that campaign, our segment will analyze that and say, okay, send them an email. So an activation will do it, a push, an email to a marketing cloud who is associated to data cloud. So something like this. So you actually perform an action, something doing, or you can send the data to some other repository or warehouse as well. So basically, it's a process of when you're sending a payload of different segment and details to a system that you are connected to, which generally we say as a target. Target could be the endpoint system, basically. Okay, and this is generally the basis of data cloud. Okay, unfortunately, I cannot show the demo today. I had that access till yesterday. Today is gone. But yeah, but this is the hooks and crooks, right? And the next we go to different links. These are very important links. This even helped me. So what we did today is we had a small 1 hour, 40, 50 minutes of session today about data cloud, right? If you can just take a screenshot of this, I'll also give John then access through this slide if you want to see. Yeah, but there's a Salesforce video library also available from Salesforce, where Salesforce has done its own video courses. So it's, I think, 17, 18 hours of discussion and knowledge sessions about, say, data cloud, right? There's a quip link which walks you through about how to implement, right? There's a trail mix. If you actually want to do data cloud, it's not that hard. It can become challenging sometimes, but yeah, there's a trail mix. I think it's 30, 35 hours of effort on that. And there's a help documentation. So for the people who are actually going for certification and something like that, I'll definitely recommend to go through the help documentation. It's not a big documentation, it's really small, but there's a lot of questions. There's a lot of key pointers that are hidden in the help documentation. Because what Salesforce doesn't do in the trail mixes, it does give you the basic information, but then it sometimes doesn't give you that key pointer that you might be looking for. Okay. And yeah, any questions? Yeah, definitely. I'll share those links. Yeah. And PPT, I'll share it with the John, so he'll be shared it with you guys. So I have a couple of those. Okay. So maybe the first one. Yeah, so once, if you're only exploring, right? So if you have a partner account or something, you can just request an org for 30 days and you can explore it. And if you're also learning it, might as well do trail mix with it, because trail mix might give you sample data and steps. So some steps you can use from Trailmix, and you can create your trial org for 30 days, and then you'll be able to explore. Once you have done your finalized, generally nowadays you'll have to reach out to Salesforce. Every production org should have an access to a data cloud org if they have enabled it, because every production org does comes with free credits. So what Salesforce have done is Salesforce have come up this way. They give you credits to using something. So let's say if you push 2000 records to data cloud from sales org, that will be one credit. Okay. Similarly, there are different credit matrices. It's not just one record is one credit. There's a lot of records into one credit. Okay. And depending on your production license, you might get 2 million or 5 million credits, something around that. Yeah. Salesforce also increased the limit on that. Okay. On your second pointer. Yeah, so see, if you have trillions of data, that's the best place to use data cloud for, because it will be doing is heavy computational logic. So it's not just supposed to be a data warehouse. It's supposed to be a system where you do perform something and analyze your data. So if you have trillions of data, it might have thousands of duplicates or millions of duplicates as well, let's say. Or to understand your duplicates and removing them, then understanding that, okay, out of these trillions of data, which is the beneficial data that we have, which can really grow the sales of a company, or which can really grow a service of a company or marketing of a company. Because definitely analyzing through 10 millions of data, you might be not be able to do it any other place. And once you have analyzed it, then you're also able to perform an action, because data cloud is the only place where you actually perform the analysis and also do an action on the data. This is a separate, totally a new feature for data cloud. Okay. Okay. So your third point is, no one data cloud is linked with your sales cloud and marketing cloud. So it's not a separate database. It is conjoined with it's in conjunction with your production org. It's not a separate org itself. Right? There's one limitation for data cloud at this moment. Only one marketing cloud can be associated. You can associate, if you have 10 service clouds, you can associate, or you can 100 service clouds or sales cloud, you can associate 100 of them. but you can only associate one marketing cloud at a moment to a data cloud. Okay, that's if you have two marketing clouds, you have to associate two of the marketing cloud with two data clouds. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. If I've forgot to mention on your fourth point, yes, you can create custom objects, you can create custom fields, even when you are doing the mapping, right? At the same time, you can do that as well. If you have forgotten to do it in the past, in your data model part, in the tabs, it also gives you a wizard to create at the same time. Or even if you have done and you go back in the past, want to create and create more mapping, you can go back and do that again. But after that, you might have to run the identity resolution rules again to just recalibrate that mapping, right? And definitely you might not be able to generate just reports, but let's say it is associated to sales cloud, right? So whatever data you have sent or whatever data you have analyzed, you can send that to Salesforce report. It's very easy. So yeah, or you can use your analysis or calculated insights as a report as well. But if you want charts and things on the data, so once you have done your analysis on calculated insight, what this is where you perform an action. You send that actionable data to Sales Cloud, and which is available in somewhere, and then you can create a report out on top of it. I have an admin knowledge of experience of Sales and Service Cloud, Community Cloud, certification using. Yes, Data Clouds does not has any prerequisite or does not need to anyone to have an expertise. If you just know and have a bit understanding of Salesforce, you can get into Data Cloud. It's not very big as well. It's a new upcoming model. It's just a small app. If you go through the trail mix, it will give you a lot of information, and I think a lot of projects are still just new with it as well. So there's a very less experienced people you'll find anywhere, or there's no hard complicacy in this. So if you have a very less knowledge and admin knowledge, even admins can do it. So I was, because this presentation that I showed, right, didn't show any code, because the even the coding and the things behind Data Cloud are very complex. So most of the things they have built in a way that you might ideally be able to do it just by drag and drop as well. You don't have to be a really hard coder to do it. There's a technical part to it. There is a technical object library for people who are very technical, want to do it. But most of the things, a lot of the things you can directly just do by configuration in Data Cloud. So yeah. Any other question that I have?
There is no other questions
Oh,
for.
okay.
Thank you
Okay,
for the, thank you for giving time. Thank you for the informative session.
there is one more question.
Oh yes,
Abhay.
yes, there is another.
Can we stream through a service call through invoke ingestion through an Apex? See, you ideally need an stream is a connection to an external system, right? You can manipulate. That is where the technical objects will come in of Apex and Apex. What you do, you might have already have a data stream created, and when your data getting pushed, you are running a, let's say, a trigger something, and you are creating a data stream. So in Apex, you can still manipulate and do most of the things custom that you want data cloud, but depends on your scenario, right? Yeah, but data cloud had its own limits. It's far greater than general limits. So, but you can do your custom process. But first, you will at least need to have one stream connected, then to manipulate it. You cannot directly easily create a stream to an external system. It will also be possible, but that will be a bit more of customization. Hmm. Thank you.
Thank you, Sparsh, for answering all the questions. Thank you for the informative session.
Yeah,
Thank you,
thank you.
everyone. Thanks for joining. Bye.
Thank you.